Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. Up and at 'em. Today is Monday, May 5th. So, what are we going to talk about today? I thought today we talk about because we in business sometimes we forget that it's not all about dollars and cents. I'm serious. Stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. If you didn't already know it, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, May 5th, 2025. So, what do I mean by it's not all about dollars and cents? Because it's not. If you focus on just your gross, your net, and your profit and your loss, you're losing out on the boat. Because there's more to customers than just a paycheck. There really is. And if you treat your customers well, and that is learning more about them and being their voice when it comes to doing repairs in your shop or doing a good job, a reasonable job, and one that keeps your customer informed, your shop will grow because it'll keep adding people on without losing people. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I've seen shops before that just concentrated on the almighty dollar. And what they would do is they wouldn't care what the end bill was. The attitude is, it is what it is, pay it. Even if that Pushmore come in at $209 and you could buy a new one for $159. Those shops want their money. And whoever is sitting there saying this is okay and passes it along and calls the customer and says, here's your bill, isn't doing a very good job either for you. See, I'm the last person that signs off and makes that call. And if I look at a bill and it's $209 on a $159 lawnmower, I'm going to have some talk with Claude and say, look, this isn't right. What possessed you to go and do all this extra work on a mower that's not worth it in the end? Again, if you have that attitude of it is what it is, good chances are you're going to lose that customer. So you're going to be spending more time and money trying to get a new flux of customers coming in to just replace the ones that you've screwed. And after a while, you run out of customers. You will. There's only so many people you can screw in that area before they figure it out. What's the right way to do it? The right way is to look at that machine like it's your own. Is it worth the money to be, to put into it? And if you have a question about that, that's where the customer needs to be called and asked and said, this is what we have, this is what we found, this is my best advice, where do we go from here? Not at the end thing and then just slap the bill down and say, this is what you owe. See, my key thing when I talk with people about business is that customer retention is probably the cheapest way to stay in business. Now, what do I mean by that? Customer retention is your present customers. It's cheaper and easier to keep the customers you have than it is to pay advertising and all this other stuff to try to get new customers. But if you're bleeding out your old customers faster than you're getting new ones or even at the same pace, you're really going backwards. Because if you can get that core of old customers and keep them happy, you've got residual income with them. And then as you're adding people, you're actually increasing your base, right? And that's where you get your main chunk of money to run the business. But yeah, I see time after time after time, businesses focusing more on trying to get new customers than they are trying to retain their old ones. And that should be your first thought is, what am I doing or not doing that I could do better on how to keep my old customers happy? You're not going to please them all. I can tell you that much right now. And some days customers are going to get pissed because they're having a bad day about something else, totally unrelated to your shop, but it may carry over because you're the next one on the list, right? So I try not to take things personal, especially if I know that it's misdirected. And it's usually pretty easy to spot something misdirected if you've saved the customer money and they're having a bad day, you know. Sometimes it's better to lay the bill down and just say what's going on. That's what I do. My old customers are very important to me because I know that in my area there's only just so many customers. And if you have the mentality of, basically screwing everyone that you come in contact with, it's not going to take long for your name to get out there. It's bad enough when you're doing the right thing and your name gets slandered. It's something totally different. It's if it's being truthful about how you're running your business. And I've seen so many businesses come and go over the years with that mentality. So how do we retain our old customers? One is we're honest, open, and we're looking out after them. We know that they are what pays our bills. They are what allows us to stay open. New customers, that's just benefits on top. Like the cherry on top of your ice cream with whipped cream. Your chocolate ice cream and your whipped cream and your chocolate syrup is your base. The cherry is every new customer you could bring into the fold. And if you're doing things right, after a while, you're going to get a regular customer base that you can kind of plan from year to year of getting their machines to do services and repairs when needed. It's not that hard to do. The quickest and easiest way I can tell you is put yourself in the customer's shoe. How would you react if somebody told you what you're going to tell your customer? Would it be a good hair day or a bad hair day? And that lawnmower that sells for $159 and the bill come out to $209 and that come out of my desk, I'd be doing a big cross on it. Because that should never cost over half of what a new is without the customer's say. Over half. And I know most push mowers don't sell for $159 anymore. I can remember when they used to sell for $59. But you're getting my drift to what I try to get across is, how would you feel if you got that bill from yourself? Take out the it is what it is. What point should you have been notified as a customer? At the point that it was going to cost over half to repair something that it was going to new. And some of you guys are going to say, well, just my service is over half. Maybe you should think about, instead of saying that it takes you an hour to do a service on a push lawnmower, when in reality it takes 5 minutes. Maybe if you build in half hour instead of just full hours, a half hour service. That's what a push mower, by the time you do plug, drain the oil, put fresh oil in it, sharpen the blade, wham bam, thank you ma'am. And then you can check everything else. If it's a self-propelled, check the drive belt. Pretty self-explanatory. But on a push mower, we can knock that out easily in 10. But it's more like 5 minutes. And in those cases, I can break it down so that I'm not giving the customer and charging them a full hour to do something that didn't take that long. So if your billable hours is 105 to 120 and you're stuck on this it's 1 hour, no matter what it is, and you put fresh oil and a new plug in it, and you find a cable bad, the cable's $30 some, and you got 120 into your 1 hour's labor plus your oil and your spark plug. You're well over half right there. But if you did it reasonable, and that is, okay, it took 5 minutes to do the service on it. Let's go in half-hour increments, 30-minute increments. It's got to be here for at least 30. So now you're getting, $60 on that push mower, plus the oil, plus the plug, plus the cable. Now you're still underneath half, right? That's what I'm getting at, is you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes and how you are going to feel if presented that bill. I know I would be very upset, and I would not bring it back. I would pay the bill and probably not say a peep, but I guarantee you I'm not coming back. And that's what happens to a lot of customers when you don't get the feedback from your customers of how well you're doing, is they don't come back. And you're left scratching your head like, well, why didn't they come back? Because they felt screwed. See, there's two different logics here. One is they have been screwed, and the other is they feel they've been screwed. Now, there are a lot of times that customers feel that they feel like they've been screwed when they haven't. Things came up that, what have you. But it's up to you as the shop owner, customer service, what have you, to be well versed on each customer and their bill and why it cost what it did, so that you can convey that to the customer. I've had Claude come up and talk with the customer about what he did and didn't do, and why the bill was a certain amount. And I find that most of the time, if you can explain it to the customer in their terms, don't get techie on them, just in your terms, and they understand it, then it seems to diffuse it. Claude's favorite saying is, we work for a living too, and if we don't get paid, we don't have a paycheck to take home at the end of the week either. No different than when you go to work, you expect to be paid. And Claude's right. That's where we get our paycheck. But I don't want to get our paycheck on the backs of customers by overcharging them. And I know this isn't to a lot of you. I know just as many shops that undercharge. I do. But most of them are like me. They don't have a big debt load. They don't have much overhead. I own the building. No rent, no mortgage on it. I got lights, heat, the regular utilities and taxes. But other than that, I don't have to pay lease, rent, mortgage. I don't have those other costs. And I went from 7 employees down to 1. Less to feed. So I can do it cheaper. You get into the bigger shops where you have 5 or more employees. That shop owner is paying out a lot just in payroll and payroll taxes, workman's comp. It's endless. I get it. But what you can end up doing is raising your prices and being priced right out of the market. We talked about Friday, location. 100 acres in Manhattan is worth a heck of a lot more than 100 acres upstate. It's all in where you're at. Same thing with small engine repair. If you're in an area that you have most of your customers making over $100,000 a year, then your prices are going to be a little higher, right? But your cost of living is going to be higher. To live in that area, to have a building or a shop or a garage to work out of. your costs are a lot higher. So in the end, we're both getting the same amount of money and buying power because the money that comes into us is paying for the taxes and everything else, just like yours is. But at the end of the day, we both have about the same amount of money to play with. It's just something to give thought to. I'm going to start wrapping this up. The main thing is take care of your customer, your old customers. Be fair with them. That's all that you would ask as a customer, and that's all they ask. When is the right time to get the customer involved? If it's going to be over half of what the friggin' thing is worth, right? Because a lot of people, if it's going to be over half, they just soon take that money and put it towards a new one because the old one is 15, 20 years old. And I know it means less shop work for you when they make that call, but that's the call that we have to deal with on a daily basis, right? When we're working on stuff. Is it a yay or nay? And you have to give the customer as much information to work with to make an informed decision on whether to go ahead or whether to step out and buy new. That means that you need to also know what new stuff is selling for. I know it's a lot to take into, but if you know what new stuff is selling for, it'll give you a better idea on when a customer looks at your bill and looks at what the cost of brand new is and starts wondering why they didn't go brand new versus having you fix it in the first place. Don't treat your customers like they aren't. You could care less about them. Take care of your customer base, the regulars. The regulars are going to feed you. Everything else, those new customers that come in, are the cherry on top and need to be added to the customer base without losing anything from the customer base. If your business is doing so well that you have so many customers and you can't take on any more, all the power to you. You're doing something right. But I know in our area, I can't afford to lose 1, 2, 3 customers because they're the ones that come back every year. Trying to get feedback from a customer sometimes is hard. You can go by body language a lot of times when they're in the shop. And that is, if they feel like they haven't been treated fairly or you didn't include them in on the bill when they wanted to be, they're going to pay the bill. But you're probably never going to see them again. And then you're going to hear other people telling you of how they're bad-mouthing you. And they may be bad-mouthing you for a good reason. You know what I said? That after a while, the whole community, you're going to run out of people to screw. Or feeling like they've been screwed. And then you're going to be out of business. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday. And I'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning for the Tuesday edition of the weekday.